Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming on behalf of Wizards Respite. We have the official background now behind us. You guys could see it. Welcome to Let's Start With Their Name. This show is where I take a TTRPG player and I have them pick a character that they want to talk about, maybe an interesting character, maybe a character that they love. And we get into that character. We talk about that character for about 20 to 30 minutes. My guest today will be no surprise to anybody, as he is the main. I am his co-host for Wizards Respite Sanctorum. He is also our. He is also the man who owns, operates, and runs WizardsRespite.com. The guy who single-handedly got me back into TTRPGs in a lot of ways. And that is Wizards Respite's Ash Elder. Welcome to the show. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I don't think I did, but welcome.
Close enough. Alder.
Yay.
Elder.
Alder.
Enough.
Alder. I put too much flair on the E. It's because I play too many TTRPGs. Alder.
It's that fantasy thing. Yeah, that totally makes me sound like way cooler than I am, like a space pirate or something.
Your name is incredibly cool. Just so you know, your name is incredibly cool. So there's no way around it. All right.
I was once told that I needed to open up a law firm. Ash Alder sounds like a lawyer at law.
Really? They apparently have never seen Evil Dead. Come on.
I know.
Chainsaw arm does not equal lawyer to me. Okay, so welcome to the show. On this show, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about one of your favorite characters, one of your most interesting characters. You were asked previously to pick the character in your head. I do not know what that character is, and we're gonna have a 20-minute chat about him. I'm gonna ask some questions, and we're gonna do some digressions and stuff like that. So, as the name of the show would say, let's start with their name.
Okay. So this is a high fantasy one. His name is Zarnac of Landobar. The of Landobar has definitely got the high fantasy aspect to it, but Zarnac.
He has got. Is this the cleric?
No.
So I'm excited now. I'm even more excited. So Zarnac of Landobar.
Yes.
It's going to be so hard for me to say if I mispronounce that. Because I mispronounced, Neil was on this recently, and I mispronounced his character's name like 13 times. So just ahead of time, I apologize for the mispronunciation of any name. Where did you get that name from, out of curiosity?
I was honestly like last minute trying to come up with a name. It was just trying to come up. I had the character in mind really well. I had the backstory in mind really well, but like I was blanking on the name, and I just kept putting it off. I was like, Zarnac. Zarnac is the name.
That's a good one. Okay, so what game did you play Zarnac of Landobar in?
This is a new one-shot D&D 5th edition that I played in this year.
A one-shot? You picked a character from a one-shot. This is going to be interesting. I think this is the first time this has happened.
Here's the thing. It was supposed to be like a one-shot. It ended up, I'm still playing it. We've been playing this for like the last year. So
okay, all right.
It's one of those one-shots.
I was about to say, everybody who I've ever played, so far you're the third guest on the show, and because I don't know how I'm going to air these, but you're the third person to come on and do it, and everybody else has had long-standing characters. Nobody has picked a one-shot character, so that is interesting right off the bat. How about, let's get to the backstory of Zarnac of Landobar. I keep saying it so that I remember it.
Okay, so how much of the backstory do we go in?
However much you want to. However much you want to, baby. That's what this show is about. It's just you vamping about your character while I ask questions about it.
Okay. Well, he's a Leonid, which is a lion folk kind of creature. I love lions.
I didn't even know those were in D&D.
They are. So when I start So that is a whole nother thing with the mechanics. They are officially in 5th edition now. I hate the official version. I preferred the old there was kind of like an old
Homebrew.
third party homebrew that was out there in the ether. I way preferred that version. Talked to the DM and she was cool with me running that version, which promotes the charisma and strength aspect of the character, which is lions, like
Yeah.
strength and charismatic. That really seemed to be a good fit. And as far as the backstory, he was the prince of a kingdom that was destroyed while he was out on a patrol with his people. It was a small kingdom, very much a real old small world, sort of fiefdom almost.
Okay.
Smaller kingdom, not the big sprawling kingdom, but a tiny little kingdom.
Okay.
And he comes back and his entire kingdom is destroyed, and he spends the next decade trying to hunt down the creature that has just decimated his land and destroyed the castles and the villages. When finally he after a decade of searching, the troops that he was with have either abandoned him or all died. He goes into the desert and almost dies himself when he is found by a cleric who initiates him, brings him back to life, and starts him on a new path in his life as a paladin. And is how he enters this religious order. He has no purpose in his life. He has failed his people. He has failed to avenge everything that was important to him in his life, and feeling like a complete failure, has no direction. And now he moves on to finding a new direction because he has nothing left.
That is fun. Always the tragic backstories with the characters. One of these days, I'm gonna get a character who's just like, yeah, he just had a lot of good stuff happening to him.
No,
So, what was your motivation behind playing this character? What inspired you to create this character? What gave you, I don't know, the machismo to make him, basically?
So I love playing characters that are very obnoxious.
Oh.
And the reason why is like I'm this is one thing I'm kind of good at, is playing a complete jerk, but not being a jerk to the other players at the table.
Okay.
It's a tricky thing. It's a tricky balance to play,
It
but I
is.
really love doing it. I wouldn't suggest it to everybody necessarily, especially if this is your first time sitting at a table. And so I wanted to play a character that was like that. I gave him a backstory where he has lost everything, but he has found something new, and he is in this religion, and he has become a complete religious zealot. He is like
Mm.
he is very arrogant. He is very obsessed with this because this is his identity now. His old identity has been completely scraped away from him because of circumstances in his life, and to find purpose in his life, he has dedicated himself to this religion. And that's kind of, I started with the type of character I wanted to play, like this sort of obnoxious religious zealot, and I found a backstory that made sense for that.
We have
Does that make
many
sense?
different, we have many different similarities. I am often the guy who's making the conflict at the table, the character-based conflict at the table. I think some of my favorite characters have been characters. One of the characters was basically directly the antagonist through the entirety of the story. I mean, and stealth plug, anybody who watches Ordo, Preston is the problem.
Yeah.
Preston is always the problem. But I think that, like, it is interesting because to create that at a table is a good thing, because I think that, like, a truly good party should in some ways emulate kind of a family in a lot of ways, to the point where, like, there's always some internal strife, and out of that strife comes a better understanding of each other and how you deal with things. And I think that if you have characters that are just, they never fight with each other, they never argue, they're like, this is the plan, we're good to go, you never have that, like, those internal character moments are not promoted as easily, so to speak. So I do like to create a character that causes problems. So I understand that motivation, because you want to get that role playing out. It all boils down to being a GM. more than a
Yeah.
player, because you want to create those role play moments. And when you're creating a character, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong because this is your interview, but when you're creating a character, you're thinking to yourself, how do I make the role play happen? And you make the role play happen by being kind of a prick sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of where that balance finds between being a prick to the characters and being a good player to your fellow players at the table.
Yeah.
Because I think being a prick gives your fellow players an opportunity to riff with you in
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
and builds a story like between characters, not necessarily the story of the plot of the game, but like builds the opportunity for character development to happen.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're 100% right. I think also people are much more likely, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. I think people are much more likely to role play in character if they're mad at somebody else than if everybody's on the same team. If everybody's just planning, everybody falls into table talk so fast. But if everybody's arguing, they're still in character, and it's weird that that's the way it is. But I feel like those arguments create that role playing stuff a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one. And you wouldn't believe it, but we're already almost through these. But these ones are the big ones. They usually digress us into many other things. But I want you to tell me this character's moment. So the moment is like the most memorable thing that happened to this character. Maybe it was a scene of extreme role playing. Maybe it was out of game, something that you learned about the system while playing. Anything that the first thing that comes to mind, there are no wrong answers, but this character's moment, your moment playing this character. And tell me about it.
Okay. Well, kind of actually going back to riffing between players and characters, the moment that happened for this character, we had been playing in the party that I was with two other characters. One of them was a sorcerer who had lied to us, lied to my character. The sorcerer
Who is a
was
religious zealot?
he was a religious zealot. Yeah, yeah, and that was a big deal. And like the whole like hierarchy of being a paladin is like honor and oath and being devoted and all of this stuff. So lying to him is a big deal. And we had gone through this lie. Basically, we were in the middle of this swamp, and the sorcerer wanted to get out of there, so he created an illusion that he had sealed up this pit full of undead creatures so we could just get the hell out of there. The sorcerer wanted spell slots back, and it made sense
Oh.
for the game and the progression of the game.
And it
So
made
my
sense for the
character was like,
character. But
yeah,
they tricked you. They tricked all of you into thwarting evil. Oh, that would be
yeah,
a big one.
yeah,
That'd be a big one for a paladin, man. Especially a
it was.
religiously oriented paladin.
Yeah, yeah, and I played it up like, oh yeah, that's great. We've totally just sealed these guys away. We're doing the right thing. We can go get supplies now, whatever. So we get back, and then we eventually find out later that he had lied. The it was an illusion. We hadn't sealed these undead away at all, and now there's this big conflict between my character and the sorcerer within the game, and we're able to completely riff off each other, like turn to each other, yell at each other. I have my righteous indignation. He has his like obnoxious like superiority complex, being a magic user, and then we have a rogue over or a ranger over here who's just like, let's just go and kill shit. But we're all doing it within character and
Right.
screaming at each other, which was a lot of fun. But we were all good friends. We all knew that we were playing characters. Um, so it was a great moment for us to just riff and build off of each other. And it ended up like, I think we almost went our own ways because that's where the arguments were going. And then I think the GM just dumped like a big boss on us at that moment, an undead creation, which we ended up all having to fight together and then begrudgingly like walk away from it. But like our relationship for the rest of the game so far, because I'm still playing this character, has kind of changed. Like we have like a bigger purpose, but right now we're still like mad at each other.
How many people are at this table?
Three players, and then of course the DM.
That's a sweet spot, man. I tell you, I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. 3 players and a DM. That's like the sweet spot for me. Um, so I love the idea that the third person is just like, hey, everybody, let's just
Yeah.
let's just talk, let's calm down. Let's use our inside voices. I think that that's really cool. That creates a lot of interesting moments in game. How hard was it during the argument to keep it just professional? Like you and this guy have known each other for a while, I'm assuming.
Yeah. We've been good buddies for 5 years now. Um, the hardest part was actually staying in character more than it was keeping it like level headed. Like we
Mm-hmm.
every because we're both playing pretty obnoxious characters, just
Mm-hmm.
obnoxious in different ways. Um, and so we kept looking at each other and just trying so hard not to laugh as we were just like ripping on each other's character.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've definitely had arguments at tables where I'm like, oh no, I've just realized this person is taking this seriously. And
Yeah.
I did not mean this at all.
Yeah. Fortunately, we didn't go too far in that direction. I'm like that's one thing that I this is probably my best quality as a player is that I can play these characters in a way that doesn't go offend my fellow player.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I have the most fun with is giving my fellow player an opportunity to do this with me, that this is
Yeah.
what I love to do when I role play. And he was very much that pretentious, kind of plays him more like how I play another sandwich plug, Alfred in Astro Drive. Very pretentious, very obnoxious,
Right.
um very into themselves, where my character's a zealot and he's just like, no, you must do the right thing at all times. And he's like, well, right for who? And just kind of riffing on each other that way.
I mean, I'm kind of with the paladin on this one. I mean, it's just an undead hole in the ground. Like, you left that there. They're just gonna
Yeah.
keep coming out. Like, that's pretty awful, man. That's like seeing a house on fire and just being like, eh. Like, just keep on walking. Like, it's pretty
Yeah.
rough.
It was fun too, because he's a good role player also, and his character was what was it? He wanted, like, his character bought a mount so he wouldn't get his boots too dirty. Like, he's playing him like such a dandy, you know.
Okay, gotcha.
um
How long have you guys been playing this one shot?
Pretty much for the last, we're 9 months.
It's a pretty
Yeah,
long
so
one shot. What was the goal of the one shot? Like, did you guys just go past the one shot marker and decide to keep playing, or did you just have you still not resolved whatever you were supposed to resolve?
We haven't resolved what we were set out to resolve. We all decided to go to the Fey realm for our own purposes. When we encounter, of course, a massive conflict that's happening within this area of the Fey realm. A dark lord has been plaguing the entrance to the Fey realm, and as adventurers, we all decide to go and be like, no, we got to stop this. My character's motivation in that area was looking to either find or establish a temple for my god. And then, of course, evil's there, and I'm a paladin, so I need to go like smite this evil so that I can have room for my god to sort of. I'm basically like a colonizer at this point. Like, I have room for my god to go in there and establish a temple so people can know the truth of my religion.
Mm.
Um, which is very obnoxious, and it kind of annoys the hell out of everybody else. But that's what, like, I got me on this mission. We all have different like purposes in there.
I think it's interesting. I just a slight digression. As a game master, how many times have you successfully run in one shot? I can count on one hand how many times I've pulled it off.
What, what do you mean by one shot? Like
Like
actual one shot?
like being like, we're gonna get together, play a game, and then never play that game again for this one thing.
Oh yeah, probably. Shoot, not very many. It does digress real quick. There are certain ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Um, like quick mission type things, stuff like that, where you really set it up. But players always want to go back to those characters. They have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I play a horror game with some friends of mine. It's a little bit more geared towards everybody dies fast, and then personally, I've run a game every once in a while where it's like an action game, but I just pour henchmen at people until there's only like two people left, and it's more like a competition, like who could survive, sort of thing. That's worked once or twice, but overall, like especially for D&D people, anytime somebody's like, I'm gonna run a Dungeons and Dragons one shot, I'm like, it takes a session to make a character. What are you talking about? Like, you are out of your mind, sir. You're madness incarnate. Okay, so moving back to Zarnac, the land. See, I didn't say it enough in a row.
Of Landobar.
Of Landobar! There we go. All right, so Zarnac of Landobar, what is your biggest, and this is the big one, what is your biggest regret playing this one? And this can be an in-character thing. This can be a purely story-oriented Zarnac, or it could be something that you did wrong making the character, or maybe that you didn't get to play the character again, something along those lines. Whatever comes to mind, what's your biggest regret playing this character?
There are certain moments within the game that I think that I could have pushed character narrative harder. I've created this character specifically for like having really fun character moments where I'm being really obnoxious or something like that. And there are certain moments where I was kind of feeling out the group that I could have pushed it harder. I could have made more obnoxious decisions or done more within the context of like a situation that was more character-esque, I guess. I didn't play the character up to his fullest potential. Um, for example, we went to a village where there was a necromancer, which again, big no-no. That would summon spirits so that people could talk to their loved ones. That would have been I did a little bit there. I there's a spell in D&D where you can seal like a corpse so that necromancers can't resurrect them. Um and I did that a couple of times, but I could have really pushed that hard. And that would have put me at odds with the people in the village. Because this is kind of part of their community. This is something that they do. This isn't like an evil necromancer running around raising dead. This is how they communicate with the dead. This is part of the culture. And as Zarnac's like this religious fanatic, I could have played like a little bit more of a villain with Zarnac, made him a little bit more too obnoxious and given him more of an opportunity to grow as a character as a result of realizing maybe he shouldn't be doing this. Maybe his precepts are not 100% accurate. And I was still trying to fill out the characters and fill out the world and fill out the GM a little bit and how they would react to this. And I didn't go all in on that. I didn't go around and in secret and seal all of the recently deceased so that people couldn't come and talk to their loved ones. And I feel like I should have. I feel like I should have really done that. I should have been a bigger asshole.
I mean, what's his goal overall? Well, what's your goal with the character? Do you think that Zarnac will change and kind of learn at some point? Or do you think he's going to just delve more and more into the religious stalwartness?
So, I would like the character to evolve in some way. either like ideally would like to, and I think I've been working towards within the context of the story,
Mm-hmm.
making him a little bit more open to other people's perspective and not so um narrow minded about his religion, about his topics, about his doctrine, um and so I would have like think I'd like to like explore that direction a little bit more with him and give him opportunities to realize that maybe like there's value in other people's perspectives. Um and so pushing the boundaries with what he does in a situation and then realizing he has to learn from those mistakes, if that makes sense. Those social disasters that he keeps getting himself into.
Oh, that's awesome. He sounds like a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I do want to thank you for being on the show. That's all we got for you. And it was really nice to look into Zarnac of
Of Landobar.
Landobar. Thank you. I want to keep saying Leadbringer, and that is not right. Zanzibar of Landobar. You want to plug anything, sir?
Well, I think I'll be plugging the t-shirts. Wizardsrespite.com has t-shirts. Wearing one right now. My Bring It D20 t-shirt. Um, of course, this show and all things TTRPG you can see on the Wizards Respite. And just last thing is thanks. I'm really happy to do this. This is a lot of fun. I'm really glad that this show is going to be on the Wizards Respite. I think that this is great for
I'm
the Wizards
excited.
Respite and for the community. That's my favorite part about doing this type of stuff. I think this show is going to be great for new players to learn about different ways of playing their characters.
I love interviewing people. I've done it a few times on the gaming podcast here and there, and I've just always wanted to do a show where I could interview people, and this kind of gives me a reason to. So I'm really excited to do this project, to be honest. So thank you, Wizard. Thank you, Ash, for being on, talking about your character. We really appreciate it. For everybody else out there, you can catch Wizard and this show on wizardsrespite.com. It's also available on Spotify and YouTube and all that fun stuff. As for me, you can contact me on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on X at OldManGaming9. You can join the Discord for Old Man Gaming. It's going to be in the description below. And then, as usual, as long as you guys keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next time.